Good morning. My name is Carol Frank, and I am horticulturist for the South Texas Botanical Gardens Nature Center, Master Gardener Emeritus, Texas Nursery National Texas Nursery Professional, something like that. Anyway, I'm a gardener, and this is my gardener friend, Whitney. She helps in the garden here. We hired her a bit back, and she did a great job on our table and everything else. Our topic today is
pruning tools and techniques.
that's it. Okay, pruning tools and techniques. Well, I love blades. I got a three edge tray from my son for Christmas 3 years ago, and it is a machete. And I loaned it to someone, and guess what they did with it? They struck metal twice. They took it and tried to use it to break something metal. What do you think happened to the blade? Big chips and chunks out of the blade. Now, the only way that you can get that out is by sharpening it out, and it takes a long time. So don't loan your good tools to people who are not educated in using them. Sometimes it's actually somebody that you really, really love, like your husband. My husband is a technology expert at Texas A&M University, and he is not a blade expert. So we're going to start at one end. Wait a minute. Should we start with the blades, or should we start with the tools? Let's start with the tools. All right. To mine, they go out. Now, I ran to HEB yesterday, and I got some sharpeners. These are really easy to use. Let's grab them. I was working on this one yesterday, and the way that I always start is, we do. Excellent. The way I start is I spray it with olive oil. Now you're like, why would you use olive oil on there? Because I don't like the taste of WD-40. Now, that's dumb, right? Well, I don't use gloves. I was talking to the young man over here earlier and telling them to learn to use gloves. If you start out using gloves, it's a lot easier. But so I'm sharpening my tool, and then I rub my face, or I grab something over here to take a drink of water, and then I'm eating WD-40. So I'd rather take olive oil.
Or 3-in-1, which isn't very good either.
Yeah, 3-in-1 is really your better choice. And you can get that pretty much anywhere. You can get HEB, Walmart, CVS, all those.
AutoZone, you name it, they got it.
Yeah, all those places. So I start from the bottom, and I spray the olive oil on there. It doesn't take very much. And then I take and you move slow when you're using blades. Okay, very slow. Make sure you always know where all your fingers are. Okay, and you notice that I have a big wad of cloth here while I'm rubbing this edge, and I go very, very slow on each side of the blade, not this way, because you will lose a part of a finger or a whole finger. Now this really, really does a good job. Now, I don't know if y'all can see it on the thing over there, but so I'll do it up. This one, you lay this blade on the bottom, you put it on the blade, and you pull all the way to the end. Don't try to sharpen just the end. What that does is it degrades the shape of that blade. So pull it across. I love that sound. I went to visit my family in Houston, and my dad had this, oh man, it's this old triangle kitchen knife, and they still use it in their kitchen. I'm like, Dad, that thing is awesome. You need to have it like hanging on the wall or something. Well, what am I going to cut my vegetables with then? Like, all right. You're 90 years old. You can do what you want with your blade. Now, I don't know if you can see that on here, but can y'all see it here? Can you see how silver and clean and smooth this is? Now, this is a whacking. Now, unfortunately, that's a very old abused blade. When you shake that handle
Yeah.
and it wiggles in there, that's not good. Because if you go and whack something with it and that blade comes flying out and your buddy who's watching you across the way gets stuck by the blade, that's not good. So personally, I would retire that
Or replace the handle.
or replace the handle, right? Okay, somebody, I'm not gonna say it, but somebody, it looks like they put duct tape on here. And, you know, if all else fails, duck it does not always work with blades, okay? So you would need to take that off, pop that off of there. It's got screws here, this one's missing, and take care of it. Okay, this, go ahead.
I was gonna say, for those of you who the machete is too big and too heavy for you to handle, this is one of my favorite. It's called a it's called a
Yeah, one of those.
yeah, I cannot, I mean, it just went out of my head, but these are smaller. You can get them at Walmart or any place like that in the camping goods. And it's a survivalist knife, basically, is what it is. So this I love. I use it. It's just like a machete, just smaller, easier for me to handle. And it's got this great serrated back edge, so you can like rip through things too.
Okay, so you're gonna put the oil on that.
Oh,
yep. You're gonna use that wire brush and knock some of the stuff off of it, like bug juice, plant juice.
Asian jasmine or
Asian
any kind of
jasmine.
jasmine, they leave that sticky kind of residue on everything, and that will gum up your tools quicker than anything else. And it rusts them quite quickly as well. So, you know, so then you just kind of take your brush and you kind of brush anything off. Now, I don't go against the blade because, well, it's just not going to do it any good, or your brush any good, and it's going to leave nicks in your edge. So just kind of brush it all off, make sure it's nice and clean. Now, if you have heavy rust spots, I suggest take a fine grit sandpaper, kind of work that
Show them
down.
how to do that.
And I will take a piece, not quite so big. I will cut a little piece off of here like this.
Do what we say, not what we do, okay? I mean, we tell you this stuff, but we're not always really good about following through. When you're in the midst of cutting back something really, really ugly and big or whatever, you just don't always take the time.
And same principle with this, always work the blade away from you, not towards you, so you just kind of minimize that chance of cutting yourself.
Follow the grain.
Yeah, and then just kind of, you know, take it down. So you get that off, and you know, it should be fairly smooth. If you have any kind of hitting, well, you know, we are in South Texas, that kind of happens, you know, so just make sure that your rust is off that.
Okay, and what would you sharpen that with?
Me personally, my favorite is my Corona sharpening tool. Now, it's just minor type of sharpening or honing that needs to be done to it. This works great. And you're always going to pull it towards you. Follow the bevel that's on your knife edge that was put there by the manufacturer. If for some reason you have a hard time seeing it or you can't follow it, Sharpie. Take a Sharpie and you're going to follow your edge all the way around. Now, when you go in to use your tools, you are going to see where you're hitting with as that black disappears. Really simple. So as you have your Corona sharpening tool, match it up with your bevel, and you're just going to pull it towards you. And as you pull it towards you, you're going to see that black turn to silver. Then you know you've gotten it. Do the same thing on the other side. And again, it's supposed to be towards you, but because of the blade, I'll go away from you. And you just follow this around. It's super easy. It puts a great edge on things really, really quick. I also like to use this for after you've used one of these tools, or you use a mill tool like this, the files, I will come in with this and kind of smooth that down.
So yeah, you've got the coarse over there, and then you've got the fine in her hand. That's the finishing tool there.
So these are my favorite tools that I like to use. Is this and the mill file.
Right.
I use that on pretty much everything. So that's my technique and what I like. Now, if you really want to get super fine about it, you can always use a steel to kind of follow up, but that's more so for kitchen knives.
When I let the boys feel of that, they come in over here, they thought it was a straw. because it has no visible texture to it. And so it's going to give you a very extreme sharp edge. Do you need an extreme sharp edge on a machete or a survival knife? Not really. Sometimes a more coarse edge is in line with what you're doing. All right. So we've got, oh my gosh, these are really, really old. And they are long-handled loppers. And they are not
Needing some adjustments.
yeah, they need adjustment. They've got a little nut and bolt here that if you tighten it down, okay, it looks like it must have been tightened before, so a couple of times. So see, it's already steadier. Now on this one, for me, I check for mud first. Typically, I wash my tools with Dawn dish soap to get all the, like say the milk from the Asian jasmine, to get all that off of there. And then I dry them really well, and then I put my oil on there. I'm all about the oil. It just makes them look pretty. It also helps to protect that metal. If you've ever watched that show, I can't think of the name of it right now. I will in a minute. My husband and I watch it. It's like a blade show. Forged in Fire. That's it. When they're making their blades, they always at the end they dip it in a hot oil.
It's a cool oil.
That's
And
a
it goes
cool
hot
oil.
to
And it
cool.
goes, and that stuff comes full. Anyway, this has a lot of pips in it because it's very old. But I put it in a trash can. That's usually what I have available. And I'm usually sitting at my desk when I'm doing it. And so I will put it like so, and that stabilizes the whole thing. And I give it a good, and remember, you want to follow that blade, the bevel of it, and go all the way to the end. And it's typically a 45-degree angle.
I've been told the best way that I can describe how to follow either your stone or your mill file or whatever you're using is much like grating off or shaving off cheese. You've ever shaved off cheese?
Cheese. Okay, I thought you said teeth.
Shaved
like,
off
yeah.
cheese.
You know.
That's basically kind of the angle that you're wanting to use against that.
So I've used the heavier grade of the file, and see that?
Oh, yeah.
And that's all it took. Well, because these are actually sharpened pretty regularly. It is something that has not been sharpened regularly, and let's show them that one.
Oh, this one's nice and dull. This is great. This is mine, and these are probably almost as old as I am. They belong to my dad, so.
Yeah, you can tell because the handles are wooden and not plastic like most of them are today. But it's a beautiful tool. But it doesn't want to close because it's bent. Yeah.
Bent and gunked up.
Bent and gunked up. So we're gonna ungunk this thing. First, I would take the wire and brush off all the funk on there. What's the name for those? Hedge shoes. It's what you use to do your hedges so that you get a nice long cut so that you can make them square or round or. All right, this is cool. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. On a rainy day, this is what we do here, is clean our tools. Because usually we're too busy to do this. And because gardening is busy. I mean, there's always a long line of tasks to be done. All right, so that's better. Now I'm gonna spray it with my olive oil, 3-in-1, whatever you're gonna use. Flip that over, make a big old mess, because that's what I do. Big old mess.
So have y'all ever wondered why your pruners get bent?
Yes.
Pruners, have you ever wondered why? Some twisting. So when you try to cut something and you can't get through it, and you try to muscle it, and then oh my gosh, it turns sideways. Now you're whatever you're trying to cut is through the middle of your blade. That is what causes that. So always use the appropriate size tool for whatever you're cutting. Will help eliminate that. Then if you find something you're cutting and you can't get through it, instead of trying to muscle it through this way, sometimes if you put it here and then put it here and then kind of close it, pull it in towards you like this, it kind of gives you a little bit of leverage, helps you out with that. Better?
I know, see, and you work that oil in there, keep working. Now, it is still bent. I don't know if y'all can see this edge right here. That, you know, I'm looking at this right here and it should go straight that way, but it doesn't. It wonks off to the edge. Okay, but they're not done. Okay,
No.
they're old, but they're not done. Show them the difference between this and this. Hold those blades.
Oh, sure.
Got like a 3/4 inch and a 1/2 inch blade on these bypass pruners. This one is going to cut a bigger branch. This one's for smaller branches. Now, you can cut a bigger branch with this smaller tool, but you're going to warp that tool. And then that's for really fine tuning, like if you're doing bonsai or shaping.
This is done for smaller than a pencil.
Smaller, much smaller than this. Yes, yes.
This is maybe about a pencil, and this can be about maybe a little over a pinky, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
1/4 inch, yeah. So, okay.
So,
Oh, and then I have some really heavy duty ones, and these are actually heavier duty than these. So
Yeah.
these can do even a little bit bigger.
and they do have a much larger branch, but once you get past that particular size, you need to go with that larger, long handled, loppers. Okay, so this is gonna take a while, so I'm just gonna give it a nice smart edge because it's got some divots. Right there's a divot, right there's a divot. So we'll give it a little bit of a.
And I found sometimes if you get really, really big chunks out of things, sometimes it's best just to grind it down, like start all over again.
But then you gotta find somebody with a grinder. This is really nice.
I love that little file, yes.
Yeah.
And so I brought in a variety of tools that I like to put edges on. It makes it easier to do.
Now, I personally only sharpen the blade side. If you've got this serrated extra side over here, you don't want that sharp. You just want that clean because this is gonna do a bypass cut. It's gonna go. You put this down as your anvil and then this down as your blade. Make sense?
And it's not gonna cut it clean, it's gonna kind of push it. Don't cut it at the same time. So
So here you are at your hedge and you're going. That show where the guy was always on the other side of the fence and he cut.
tool time.
Tool time, yeah, the guy on the other side of the fence always was.
Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Wilson was cutting his hedges.
Now,
So, but that,
you might point out the little thing there, the hinge. to get
The notch, the
Notch,
notch.
yeah.
So when you open it up,
mhm.
see this notch?
Oh, yes,
That's for grabbing your
bigger branches. Thank you very much. I missed that. So keep your fingers away from it because I have a story about that. I was cutting hibiscus, like hundreds of hibiscus, and I had my little clippers and I'm clipping it all, and I thought I had an extra hard branch. So I clipped anyway, and I clipped my finger, not very hard, but right through here, and you know, it was easily put back on, but you just push back together, not put back on. You don't put it back on. You push it back together. And I continued on with my day, but I could have really messed up on that. I could have lost a part of it. And if you ever seen somebody with a less finger or so, you're thankful that you didn't do some things that would happen. So, lesson learned, word from the wise, that kind of thing. All right, so we got that. Now, trowel. When I call this a trowel, people look at me and they're like, what? So learn the names of your tools. It's just really kind of cool. At the end, I'll probably get a helper up here to help me do some things on this. Maybe not a sharp. So I wiped it down because it actually had mud still on the end of here. And so I would wash it with the soap and the water just to make sure to get everything clean, dry it up real good. Make sure to oil your wooden handle to kind of keep it from cracking. Come on, baby, drop it there. That's man, some mud. These are stored above our computer in our back office because our back office is just got too much stuff in there. And so I always tell people, wash the mud off because when it falls in the printer, it's not good. So yeah, all right, look at that. Now, this is kind of weird because it doesn't have an obvious, a way to do it. Personally, I would just use my little handy here and pull it from the edge. And why would you do that? It just makes it easier to cut through the soil. If you've ever had to dig and wedge and try to get stuff, a hole in our clay soil, it's because your tool is not sharpened. Now, once you sharpen this tool, remember, it is an edge, and so it can cut you.
Please dropping it. Don't drop it on your foot either.
Right. All right. You get that little tip there, because that's the part that's going to go through the soil. And so you don't have to have it razor sharp. You don't want it razor sharp, but you just want it to be sharp enough to where you don't have to fight to get into the soil.
It's much easier for transplanting plants, trying to dig things up that are already rooted.
He's got a little edge on there, not enough to touch you, but good enough to go through the soil.
Hey, Carol, I have some trowels
How do
that
you
have
here? Show me how to open this.
coatings on them.
Put an orange button, yes. It was a technical thing. So now we're going to talk about sharpening serrated edges. It's a little more difficult. Now this one is it ours? I'm glad, but I'm sad. Y'all, I don't know if y'all can see it on the camera, but there are chunks of wood, probably some kind of, milk from whatever they cut. There's lots of rust on here. Wow. Okay. The handle's filthy dirty.
We try to keep it as original as possible.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. Actually, we were probably in a big old hurry, did a giant, I remember what
We were
did.
using that yesterday, so that's probably.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that we used it behind the playground because our playground butts up against nature. And so we try to keep nature as, give it a 5-foot width so that we can see them coming, just in case we have to make decisions on them. Get out of the playground. Not that our playground is a dangerous place to be.
No.
Okay.
No.
But we like to keep it cut back. And there's stickers on every tree that we have. And so we try to keep that cut back, and we use this to do this. Okay, so you clean it up really nice. Make sure to get your handle. Because if you've got mud and slime on that handle and it slips while you're trying to cut it, you will whack yourself. And it will, if it's dull, it will even cut you. Okay, so no, which one would I use on this? I would say
Me personally, throw it away for the moon.
these young people nowadays, it's just like throw it away. No, baby. Okay, I don't know how to use this, so I'm gonna use this one here. What I do is I go to the edge of the blade that is sharpened, and it's a very detailed kind of thing. And I give it a push, give it a push, give it a push, give it a push, all the way down.
And you'll find that you'll find little files, little middle files like this, and they'll be like a triangle shaped one. There's a round, there's a half round. I have one in my car. I can go get it.
I thought I brought my black bag in here. It might be in my truck. Anyway, I went to Walmart and they have a little package of files, little tiny files, which is what I usually use on this. But so give it all the way around, just on the teeth side that's sharp, and I'm not going to do the whole thing, but you can see you can see the shine of that sharpener right on that edge, and it doesn't take very much. This side does not have an edge on there. It's rough, but it doesn't have an edge. So you always want to do it on the side that you can see that there was an obvious edge on there. The biggest part of keeping your tools sharp is keeping them clean. Just gotta keep them cleaned up. All right, boom. Wire cutters. These look good compared to what I found them at. And you think, well, they're wire cutters. Why do they need to be sharpened? Well, because they cut a nicer, cleaner cut if your tools are sharp. And you don't have to gnaw on it. You know what I'm saying? The boys laughed at me whenever they saw me sharpening it. And they're really old. So come again with my sharpener. So they like I say, they do it much better. And I can say that all my tools, if I have been the last one to use them, are sharp and they are clean and they are put away. If you leave your tools in the soil or the grass, they're going to rust. And it's just not good. Can you bring a shovel in here?
I've got a sharpshooter.
Okay, we're gonna do that. Let's do that one next, okay? Because, is it muddy?
No, I actually took care of that before I brought it in.
Okay, that's good though. Typically, they are covered in mud.
So I found out a little secret to keeping some of your shovels and your other tools like that clean is bucket with some motor oil and sand. And so when you're done using them, you just stand them up inside that bucket of sand with the oil in there, and it abrades off any kind of debris that might be on there still, and it keeps them lubricated.
45, so that you can see from here to here that your edge is like so. And probably if I had put the Sharpie on there, it will probably work better. And these had chunks out of them. Never use your clippers to cut wire with. Any kind of wire, you know, barbed wire, chicken wire, anything, because you're going to get a big old chunk out of there. Same thing on this. Now, this side is a little, because you got to do both of them because both sides cut. And I'm going to hold it down like so. You can see that it's nice and sharp. Had a big old chunk out of it, so I sharpened it until it was shiny. See, it's so pretty. So looking at me going, okay. So let's do a sharpshooter. Now, this is one of my favorite shovels for South Texas clay because you can't, I mean, if you take a big wide shovel and you stick it down into the clay, you try to wedge out a big chunk of it, you're gonna break your handle because the clay is stronger than that wood. Okay, so you can't wedge it out. You've got to chip it out and make sure to have you a rock or a cinder block to hit your shovel on. Now this one, it looks like the blade itself was coated with something because we're down right here. We're down to the blade, and then whatever coating that was on there is starting to chip off. So it's obviously not a quality, expensive tool, but I probably wouldn't use a quality, expensive tool on our clay. I would use it on prepared soil that's had stuff, you know, added to it so that it's not so very, very strong. Hard.
What's that shovel's name?
Sharpshooter. As opposed to a round point, you know, as opposed to a flat head. And then you have trenchers that are really skinny. All right, so I've got most of the mud off of here.
When you say sharpshooter, you're relating to the blade itself, right?
Correct.
Oh, I never heard that one before.
Yes, yes. It's a favorite tool for South Texas.
That black stuff is just like.
Is that Huxley over there? Hey, I didn't recognize him. But, you know, I miss people now, and it's like, what do you mean you miss me?
Now
You
you
saw
see
me
me.
at the grocery store. It's like, oh, okay.
He's been hiding a lot.
Yeah, they do. But sometimes I'm wondering, I'm thinking that's kind of a good thing, right? You know, I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna knock most of the stuff off of it. It's not stable here, so.
Want me to get on the other side?
Yeah, get over that side and put your foot there. There you go. Now, if I were in my office, I would have this stuck on the floor up against my desk, so.
Or if you've got a vise at home,
Yeah.
you can stick it into a clamp.
I usually don't have any quite that technical. All right, flip her over.
I tried to get most of that off.
No, you did. That
And
was-
you know, and a lot of times this paint that's on there, it just kind of wears off after a while. I will once a year go through and sand down my handles and anything that needs hitting or whatever, and I'll throw a coat of paint on it.
Yeah, just to kind of protect it from our weather. All right, and then we're gonna take. I know where they are. Then I'll take this and rough side of my tool.
And just let you know, this is a semi-round file that she's using, so.
Right, I don't know if you can tell that. Yeah, flat on this side, round on this side. Now you can get a whole set of sharpening tools at one of the stores, the box stores. But typically if you get a little collection of, you know, free, the Corona sharpener, the knife sharpener at HEB, and then the file.
And the great thing about these knife sharpeners like this one, and I know definitely like on this one, you pop out these screws and these little metal plates that are in there that make this V, that you slide your knife, you can turn them around. So if this gets worn down after a while, you can turn them around, you have a whole brand new edge, and you're good to go for another year and a half or however long.
Okay, so I don't want to make this like, you know, cut meat kind of sharp. I just want it to be smooth enough and sharp enough. And again, you add a 45. Down level on metal. Probably some of you are like, oh my gosh, you don't really start see this. You know, that's where you have a divot in that metal. There you go. That's not perfect, but
It's just to give you an idea of
just to
what
give
you
you an
can
idea
do.
of what you can do. Now, you can go along here on the edge, but just because this is this long, doesn't mean this whole thing goes into the soil. You're on
Here, you know, up here with it.
and there's your
Basically,
weeds.
here's your weeds. So you're gonna go up and then back. So this front edge, you can cut it, back edge, you can cut it. So as you're pulling it and pushing it.
Now, show them how you really use it.
Yeah, right. So basically while you're down on the ground, it's push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. And that's why it moves.
And that's
So
why
you
it's
want
called
some-
a hula hole, like a hula girl. But that's kind of not an accepted name anymore. So they call it a fast code. So it's really fast. Okay, so we've gone through these. Let's go ahead and do our bypass. Oh, I don't know what to call that. Whitney. I don't know what to call
Okay, so
this.
this is my
Okay,
favorite
I know
tool.
I've
This is,
used it, but I don't know what to name
this
it.
is probably my own creation. I'm sure you've all seen these half moon edgers, you know, for cutting at edges and so forth.
Ah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what I do is I put an edge on mine and it's great for cutting really straight lines where your grass kind of overtakes your brick or whatever else. I know you can get in there with the weed eater and keep it, but if you want to get down and cut those roots to keep it a little bit further out or to maintain that area a little bit longer, I put a great edge on this. And then it's got these great little, you know, flares on it so you can step on it. And then I'll just put it down in there and step on it, rotate it, go to the next one, and it'll actually, you can get going with this and it'll cut straight through. I do like a little bit sharper edge on this, so do be careful with that. And usually when you get these, they have a very, very, very blunt squared off edge. So it might take a little bit of grinding or filing on this one. But I've had this for very many years, and you can tell, and it used to be a lot bigger. So, but I love this. This thing is great for that. Or if you're trying to get something out, you can use it to also hack at the roots, kind of cut them, and you get a little bit more leverage on it, trying to get it out. And the handle, just because I like having that extra leverage on the handle that came from something else. Like I said, I have my own tools, but it works for me. That's what I have.
Right, right.
So I love this thing. This thing is great. I've had it for many, many years. Got lots of uses.
Okay, so now we're down to hand pruners. Pruning, oh, look. So this is somebody else's, and this is mine. Mine has a nice edge on there. It has my name on it. So when I see you with my tool, I'll know. That goes back in my box, not the tool, not the work box. I don't share my tools very often, but I will if I have to. And you notice that it's nice and smooth and it's not rusty and it's got an edge on there.
These are mine. There again. They do have some rust on them, but you know,
They
that's
look
because,
good.
but I've had these for about 5 years, believe it or not. And I have a pair that are even older than that, and the blades are quite thin, but I do love them, and they have been around for a while.
I have a pair that I've had for 19 years. They have no rubber left on them. The blade is much smaller than it was, but they fit my hand beautifully, and it's just awesome. I mean, it works like butter. Of course, when you do that, like butter for decades, you know, your hands give out. So this one is mine. I hold it like so, and I don't need much. I just need a little bit of edge on there. I'll usually put it against a chair so that it's even. Make sure that you get all the way to the end and try not to do that end more than the other, because it'll make shallows in your edges. That's probably not really good. All right, there you go.
Now on these, you're only gonna do this cutting edge. That's the only thing you do.
Yes.
Now, if you need it, if you have burrs or something on this one, like with my Pruning sharpening tool here, if you have burrs or whatnot, I will do a quick run through just one time, like this. And then on that flat surface, make sure you keep this flat. That's it. And that'll take care of those burrs that are on there. You don't need to sharpen this because this isn't a cutting edge. It is your edge that it meets against. So that's it. And really important thing too when doing these, you know, you think knives have 2 edges, then anything cutting should have 2 edges. Not so for, you know, for pruners or scissors. They have 1 edge on each side. So I didn't either. So this is going to be have to be close. So I come in with mine like this, and if you have a pair of scissors, same thing. Just follow that bevel. Take your Sharpie if you need to. Find that bevel and that edge that was put there by the manufacturer. Follow it. You'll have no problems. But scissors only have 1 edge on each blade.
Okay. So that pretty much covers our blades. Let's show how well they work. So let's get one of them that does, we have not sharpened.
We have not sharpened. Here you go.
Okay. You can do those?
Yeah.
All right. There you go. You want
Let me hold that.
Oh, and you forgot to show. Okay. So if you don't have any of these tools, you can also take your sandpaper, okay, in a pinch, and you can just rub across there with sandpaper, and it will give you a nicer, cleaner edge. So here I am.
I was gonna say, one other thing you can do too is with knives or anything like this, you can also use them to sharpen one another again, much like you would do your kitchen knives. All right, here we go. Ready? Wait, let me have. Ready? Okay, go ahead.
Hey, pretty good, huh?
There you go. See how that's kind of
Okay.
gnawing through it?
Yeah. Now let's show them an edge. see, this first one here made a nice clean edge, but these, they gnawed on it. So it's edgy and raggedy, and it leaves it open for disease and fungus and so forth. You want to get a nice, yeah.
That's all. And it's kind of
clean
squished.
edge on there.
It crushed it and then decided to cut through it.
Yeah. If you just do it on two, it'll be fine. But let's do the sharp ones. Okay. You're done.
Maybe not.
Maybe not as sharp as that. Oh, look at that though.
Yeah, these are little, but these are bent. So there you go. That's a cleaner edge.
On a little edge right there. Boom, look at that. Now it's better. But those are mainly for little things, you know, like ligustrums or box hedges
Right.
and green.
Now,
stuff.
ideally, you're probably gonna do one of these with this and see how clean and nice that is. If I can get that one. That piece just doesn't want to. There you go. There you go. So you want these to be kind of a cleaner cut. These aren't, we didn't sharpen these. did we?
Nope, so that's the thing. Those were not
There we go.
sharpened, and watch this. Boom, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Here, do that one.
You want to cut those at 45-degree angle? Or
Correct.
straight across?
Correct. Typically, most things you cut at a nice 45. Plumerias, desert rose, all of those, they want a flat cut. Don't cut those at an edge. You want a flat cut.
Yeah, and with those, of course, you're gonna cut those and then you're going to allow them to create a callus over the top, usually before you've already set them out into a moist environment like we have here.
Now, where's your littles? Where's your little ones? These are awesome. So I don't know if they can see me on there, but I'm not gonna do a hedge across. I'm gonna do a specific cut right above a node. So, oh my gosh, these are like butter. These are beautiful. This is a beautiful blade here. Oh, yeah. So when I went to Houston to visit my dad, he's been a Houston police officer for 40 years, retired and became a beekeeper. Been a beekeeper for 30 years. And he is 89 years old. And he still said, did you bring your stuff to cut my bush with? I had brought him a sweet almond verbena for his bees, and he keeps wanting it to be a tree, but it's actually a bush. So while I was there, I had to use their tool. No, I didn't. I brought my tools. That's right. This time I had brought my own hedgers, and they wanted to keep them, but I'm sorry. You're not going to use them anyway.
Are you doing the 45-degree angle on that also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm trying.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done it so long that it just is automatic that I come do that. And okay, this is my hold. It is not the correct hold. The correct hold is here. But I just tend to get a better cut with my finger over the top here. Now, my fingers that I want to watch are these, the ones that I'm holding the thing with, whatever part of the plant I'm holding, you make sure you know where your fingers are. So you put that right there, and you put this down here at a 45 just above a node, and you flip. Flip. I think I was cutting 300 hibiscus by hand when I did the little finger cut thing. And it was the end of the day.
And you'll find that as you're cleaning on this too, your pruners are automatically gonna kind of be in a angle. So as you're cutting in here, you're gonna see if you're already kind of gonna be there. So that's what I found.
This is probably the most fun class that we get to talk about. We've not done this one before, and not here, not together. And so it's pretty cool.
When's an appropriate time to start pruning hibiscus?
Okay, so that's debatable. When is a good time to start cutting hibiscus? If you cut them now, because you're like us and you have so much to do, this is the only time you're gonna have to do it. You will get new growth. A frost or freeze will come and freeze that new growth more quickly than it would the old that's already been damaged. And then you have to cut it again. Depending on how hard of a freeze or cold spell that we have, it's a possibility that you could damage the actual plant by cutting it too early. Some people, they just don't want to see that ugly stuff in their yard, so they just cut it. And that's, that's a choice. Gardeners always have choices. And we here, if it were mine, I would wait until probably March or April. I'm a lazy gardener.
I do mine
Why
in
not?
February,
Yeah.
beginning of March.
And know that spring break is gonna be cold. Boy, it just always is. Spring break is always cold here. My son and my daughter's birthday is that month, and so they always plan an outside party. And they bundle up and still have that outside party. So pruning and getting ready for spring is a real personal kind of choice. And you got, I could give this plant to 60 gardeners. They could all grow it a totally different way, and most of them would be successful. So right and wrong in the gardening, the only thing that determines that is the plant and the weather. So, okay, so this is bane of my existence. This is big ivy. Big ivy will pull the mortar from your brick, because everybody wants to grow it up on their brick wall. When you decide you're tired of having to replace brick and you want this gone, well, you kill it off, and it takes you decades to get the roots out of the brick that they attach to. They are excellent for topiaries because they are indestructible. You just can't kill it, which is a good thing in South Texas, kind of. So anyway,
And it likes to spread. So if you're looking for an area that needs to be covered by something, just ground cover type, this will spread quite easily.
now these are our own, and they have been in the sales area for
Over a year.
over a
Yeah,
year,
about a year.
and they have not been taken care of. I mean, barely watered. The soil pulls away from the side of the pot, and it is just sucked up dry, and you're looking over there, and it's just growing anyway. So if you have a hard time gardening, this is it. So I want my bigger shears on this one, and I'm gonna give it a little bit of a edge, because I want it to be clean. And I'm just gonna pull this up like a ponytail, like so, and I'm going to go across the edge, across the top there, just go around the outside. And so if you cut every end of this, where you cut, the node will start to come out, and it'll be a beautiful, bright green, full mess.
Mess.
I'm sorry, a mass.
Mass.
That was it, a mass of green. So let's say you have this as a ground cover, and I'm sorry if that happened to you, but I'm sure it was a choice. You can use a weed eater on this.
Or put your lawnmower on the highest setting and mow it down.
You can mow it down, kind of like shrimp plant.
Asian jasmine.
Ooh, all across the-
Cordelia.
Yeah, oh, Wedelia is probably one of my absolute favorite plants, because it took me 16 years to kill my Wedelia across the front of my house. I couldn't garden at the time, I was bad at it. And
Really? It only took my mother-in-law 6.5 months to kill everything up out in front.
oh, well, your mother-in-law has a great talent, and we love her.
Well, I don't know.
Anyway, so, what the heck is this? Oh, this is
Okay.
yes, Mexican, no, not Mexican orchid. Ocarina, no.
The,
Book of the cow.
yeah,
Okay.
There you
we'll
go.
figure it out.
it's the other orchid,
Orchid
not
tree.
the Hong Kong, but the other one.
Anachita, no, Anaconda. Anyway, it's the white native orchid tree. It's got a little bitty white flower on there. And if you can see, and I'm sure somebody's screaming on that Zoom right there, telling us what it is.
I'm sure, I
Probably bad.
texted.
And,
There's a name tag on the pot.
hey, look at us. Ta-da, Mexican orchid. Yeah, Bohemia Mexicana. Very good, thank you. It takes a village.
And there's
Yeah.
your sign.
And there's my son, yeah.
Oh, pata
Um,
de vaca.
Now, this one is awesome. It is a small tree. about 18 to 12 to 18 feet. The beautiful little white flower is gorgeous. It is a nice understory tree. So you have big oaks or cedar elms or whatever, and you're trying to do a little garden under there and you can't put anything under there because it's too shady. This would be one of those trees that you can do that with. This is a great bonsai choice.
Okay.
You can bonsai these and they'll bloom and look beautiful. Betty Whitt, believe it or not, Betty Whitt is a great bonsai expert. If you've ever been to her yard. Okay, so we're gonna look at the tree and determine what is our desire for this? What is our purpose for this? If you want to make this a single trunk, straight tree, round head, you will fail every time, every time. Making it a bushy tree is better. Now, that's not what they did here. You can braid it, okay?
One of my favorite things to do. I love braiding.
Let's braid that trunk.
And that's perfect for doing it right there.
So you just take it, pull it like so, and you pull it like so, and like so. Yeah.
And pick off all these little twiggy things there.
Come on, baby, you're doing it. Good, look at you go.
That is perfect shape for doing that.
Uh-huh. They did this with ficus trees a lot. The growers who send them to us are just, they do it with hibiscus also. And
I've seen it with Durantas. I've seen it with lots of different things.
so it's just a lot of cool thing to do. You show you got the little braids. So
And then you just stop right here, all this in here, and then let that go.
and make
Just
it
clear
go
from
around
there
there.
down.
Now, I'm more of a naturalist. I like things to look freeform. And that's, some people call it weedy, some people call it
Wily,
negligent,
kind of.
wily, yeah. But I want to be out there and I want the plants to be happy and in the shape that they're supposed to be. Now, I will do some pruning to keep things away from the area that I want, but, or to keep it more upright.
Now, there are some things you just need to just let go. Some things will never change their growing habits. This is how they want to grow. This is how they grow. And trying to force it, you're just going to be after it all the time.
It's too separated.
From one written up.
Yeah, got it. Okay. He was just trying to, that's Huxley, and he's awesome. And so he was trying to figure out, you know, where we're cutting on here. So that's a braided one. Now, it had 3 trunks. I would personally let it come up as a waterfall. There's not really a whole lot of pruning that needs to be done on this.
Anything dead, dying, crossing,
Yeah.
rubbing.
Actually, I don't see anything dead on here.
Yeah, not even during the winter.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Put
good.
that at an angle there. Got it. This tip here that looks like it's brown and crusty actually has new growth coming out on there. So this one is one of those that you determine, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to be a natural? Do you want it to be a native? If you wanted this top to be kind of round and bushy with this here, you're just gonna take it up here like a ponytail again and let it go. And anything on the outside, you just kind of bring it up and do like a face thing. Now I've ruined the tree and my heart is perfect, but
No,
that's
she
okay.
did not. We're going to make this beautiful.
There you go.
So what this is gonna do is all these little cuts are gonna create new growth and that's gonna all kind of branch out and you're gonna have this pom-pom after a while. It'll take a little while to get there, but it will turn into a pom-pom.
Now that you have determined that that's going to be a pom-pom, it is your responsibility to continuously prune that to keep that shape.
Hence,
If you buy one at the store that is already shaped, then it's going to outgrow that shape unless you continue to maintain that.
So how long is it gonna take to get a pom-pom on there?
Months,
I would say probably for a good sized pom-pom years. We're looking
Years.
like 5 years.
Oh, wow,
3 to
okay.
5 years at least.
it's a
Yeah.
commitment.
Yeah.
And, but you know, that's people. They like, you know, they're willing to do what they want to do to get what you want out of it. Okay, so this is porterweed. What color?
Purple.
This thing gets big, like 5 to 6 foot. I mean, big, big, big. We have it all in a butterfly garden
Mhm.
because it's a butterfly plant for, can't think what it is. Anyway,
It attracts your butterflies and your hummingbirds.
okay, so if I were to take this like a ponytail and cut it right up here, I would still have height on
That stuff is tough, yeah.
it. Yeah.
And it's been weathered.
And it's been weathered. So there's that. And I cut off all the little seed pods that were on there, the little leftovers. So it starts to bush out here at every node and it's floppy because this is where the new growth is going to come out. Now you've got a bigger plant, but it's going to be soft and movable. Personally, grab those loppers, do this.
These ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, we would probably cut it
I would cut it, me personally,
right there.
I'd cut it all the way back.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's just because I don't want all that stem
Mhm.
and bare.
Mhm.
I want to just make it all start. And when this starts to take off and grow, it grows really fast, especially that spring flush. It's
Right.
amazing how fast it's going to grow. And before the end of summer, it'll be this tall. I kid you not.
So by cutting it tall, you get faster green and faster flowers. So if you're trying to feed butterflies, that's probably the way to go. But I would have some tall and then the rest go really short because it takes it longer to grow and come back from a shorter state than it does from the taller thing. So then again, that's a choice and
But again, you're going to get a bushier type of plant when you cut it.
that'll just.
Cut it down way far.
So is it better to leave it in the pot?
No, this is
Go
just
ahead
for
and put it
demonstration.
into the ground?
Yeah, when you first start them out in pots, they're little bitty and then they come from the grower like that and they're ready to go in the ground. Because they get a trunk on them.
Mhm. Oh, yay. Yes, and you'll notice too that these are probably grown into the pot. Yeah, these are
Yeah, look
really,
at the
really,
roots on the bottom. of that.
really root bound. So that's the other thing that we can show you too, what to do when you pull this off and you see all these roots going around the outside of the pot, and how to take care of that.
And how deep in the ground should you go?
No deeper than the root ball. Okay, if you put soil across the top of there, what happens is the top soil gets wet and the root ball stays dry, like a sponge. Okay, but it doesn't suck the water from the top, so the plant's dying, it looks wet, and you're thinking, what's going on here? Because you smothered it. It's like swimming. When you have water here and you're swimming, you're okay. When you have water here, you're drowning. So, it could be a matter of an 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch of soil on the top of there that can just.
I'm a
suck-
novice, that's why I have all these.
Oh, that's good. No, I
We
mean,
like that.
There are no bad questions.
Yeah, so-
Absolutely.
Ideally, a hole twice as big as your pot, but no deeper. Tell people the soil you see here on the top is going to be level with your ground when all is said and done. Okay, if you're doing it into a pot, you can do soil across the bottom, up the side, never across the top. Okay,
And this is a good example of
I
that.
love doing
And
this.
this is lemongrass. And if you see the pot that it was in before, you can see where it was, and then we repotted it. And we could have put it a little bit deeper than that, but the plant didn't care that it was sitting above the top of the root of the soil
Ground level.
level. It didn't care. It just went on. So it's ready to go to its next size pot because these things get 6 to 8 foot tall. Ours bloomed in front of the orchid house.
Yeah,
Like-
recently, like within the last 6 weeks, it decided to start blooming. So,
Everybody thought it was campus grass. We said, no,
lemongrass. It's lemongrass.
oh, it's lemongrass.
Okay, so
So-
this.
All right, Miss Whitney, there
Personally-
you go. Just don't touch the
Yeah,
tag.
I got this.
Oh, tag, not the back.
Ta-da. And on, I found on lemongrass, fountain grass, pink muley grass, whatever kind of grass, cut it straight across. Just straight across has always done it well. When you start to mound it, for some reason they fail. They do not thrive near as well. So straight across, as ugly as it may look, it won't stay that way for very long.
The philodendron that we had in front of our gardens here, I cut them back to the ground and the girls were like, oh my gosh, you killed it. And I said, okay, stand here and watch that. And they stood there and they actually watched the leaf come out and open up. It is seriously that quick. When you've got a banana plant, you cut that thing off, you can just stand there and watch the next leaf start. They were just amazed. So
So fountain grass is okay to prune that now?
definitely.
Can you, well, how did that start? From seed or cut?
Probably from seed at the grower. Okay, which as it blooms, it'll make seeds. So somebody put it in a little seed tray, that it made a plug. Then they took that plug and put it into this 4-inch pot. And then when the pot gets 80% full of roots, you take it from that old pot and you put it into 2 inches, 2 sizes larger than what it's in.
Oh, well, I always do 1.5 times size.
Okay,
So if it's in a 6, you go to a 9. If it's in a 9, you go to a 16, so forth and so on.
except that it's easier to find 6, 8, 10, and 12-inch pots. And so that's really the only reason I go to.
So
You can't propagate from the cuttings, right?
not from the top. Now you can do root cuttings on this. No, if you've got a very large plant, you can cut sections and plant those.
Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned banana plants. Now, I have banana trees. And they're, every year, you know, I end up with my machete cutting way down. And then, of course, like you say, you can almost see them growing.
Yes.
But I wondered, you know, if I started at the top and started cutting the dead, can I leave the stem and will?
I just did that to mine.
You
Believe it or
can.
not.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, you sure can.
And I kid you not, within me taking those ugly leaves and everything right down to that, you know, trunk off, within a matter of 2 days, I now have leaves this high.
Tell them what the question was. Tell our people on Zoom. I'm sorry.
We forget.
Yes, we forget. We are very hands-on.
Gentleman
people.
wanted to know, he's always cutting down his banana trees all the way down to the ground, wants to know if he can leave the trunk or the stalk and just cut the bad leaves down. And yes.
So you have a bigger plant, right?
have a
away.
bigger plant quicker and maybe get some bananas faster.
Well, the thing is, that's another question. Bananas.
Uh-huh.
I do get bananas, and I've tried to do just about anything by putting them in paper bags, and stuff. But they're not edible to me. They're hard, and they, you know.
Are you waiting until that whole bunch has come over? And I mean, it will start to really hang. It'll
Yeah.
bloom and then it starts to hang.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, and they're a little bit firmer banana, I have found anyway. They're not going to be super soft like the ones you get in the grocery store. They tend to be a little firmer. Fingerling bananas, I call them. But yeah, just let them ripen up a little bit more. That's all. They might
Takes a
take a
long
little
time.
bit longer.
And they taste like pineapple.
I love them. I love them.
Okay. So this is another quarter weed,
Uh-huh.
and it's salmon. This one does not get as tall as your regular blue one does. And for me, I would cut a little bit higher on this one, so that I've got, because it grows slower and it's not nearly as big as the other one. So I'm gonna take it back.
I do mine as extreme as I do because the space that they're growing in. I don't need them to be 5 by 5, you know.
Yeah.
That's just not feasible for the area. So that's why I kind of tend to keep mine a little bit shorter.
And I always take off all the old leaves because it's never gonna turn green again. Okay, so any brown leaves on there, go ahead and take them off. And then you've got this, which will start to grow very, very quickly. I love this salmon one. It's really beautiful.
That salmon is gorgeous. I love that one.
And we have a butterfly house that is huge. And so we can get huge plants in there.
Lantana.
Ooh.
Lantana is one of my favorites because it's so forgiving, whether it be watering or accidentally putting it back too short.
Right.
But it's very, very forgiving and it'll come back around. So
We did that at our office back there. We had some volunteers who we told them what to do and showed them what to do, but conveying your ideas in your head to someone else, it always gets turned around. So they cut them at ground level, started raking out the bottom, so it'll take it a little longer to come out, because they're ground level. But they will come out because lantana sends out its stems and it will root at each node here. So if it's on the ground and soil goes across the top of there or mulch, it will start to root there.
Or any clipping, after you started clipping, anything you leave out in the yard will take root.
Is lantana native?
There are native lantanas, yes, sir.
Not all, not lantanas are native. Yes, lantanas are native, and it's very difficult to get the native variety of. My grandmother had one when I was little, and she called it the butterfly bush, because every time you walked up to it, like butterflies would fly away because it was just covered in them. So it's a great nectar plant for butterflies. So this is a Texas lantana, beautiful red and burgundy. And rather than cutting it back hard, I'm gonna go ahead and cut it back 2/3 of the way. Now okay, this
That's
stem here is broken. I know y'all can't see that, but I'm gonna cut it just above there because that break's not gonna seal. Now, if it were out in a while and it wasn't gonna get taken care of, that would heal itself and it would continue to grow. It would not need to be.
90-degree angle, doesn't matter, it'll continue.
Taking off all the leaves,
Yes.
when we do it with the roses, so that any disease won't carry over from one year to the other.
Yes.
But people don't like to see that.
Now, Huxley's telling us that when we cut roses, which is right now, we take off 2/3 of the plant and only leave 3 to 5 canes on there. And people will come in and look at that and say, what happened to the roses? They're only sticks. But it doesn't take very long for them to come back out. And we take off all of the leaves, because you don't want fungus to carry over from one year to the next. After we cut all the leaves off the roses and cut them back, way back, we put fungicide on there and we do fertilizing and we do a whole revamp. They go to like a beauty parlor for roses. And
Get rid of the leaves.
get rid of
Clean
the
up
leaves.
all of your leaf
Clean up
debris,
all of your leaves.
absolutely.
The housekeeping is your best defense against bugs and fungus. Keep that stuff cleaned up. Don't use it as mulch. Don't put it in your mulch pile if it has bugs or fungus.
Yeah, it gives, all that leaf debris underneath plants just creates a perfect harboring for pests and disease and place for them to hide out. You can't see them, so keep it cleaned up, and we do much better. Yes, ma'am.
Run, no spider, run.
Oh, there's another one around here. There's been a couple there.
Not everybody likes spiders. Okay, so I'm looking at this because as I prune, I try to diagnose anything that's difficult with the plant. Well, this one here, the soil has gotten high up here, but it's low over here. And if you can see, the root ball, the stem is above the soil. Now, I probably wouldn't put soil there. I would just mulch that thing. Remulch it, put mulch across the top. Mulch is a very important part of landscaping your garden because it helps to maintain a soil level. Or water level. It just keeps that moisture in there and keeps it from drying out.
Keep weeds out.
Okay, so this one is
No,
not croupier. This is skeleton eye daisy. Golden skeleton eye daisy. Now, y'all can correct me if that's okay. I take that very well. So now, typically you're gonna whack it back here, but I need some more height on this because we are low on butterfly plants or nectar plants right now. Because we've had so many quick freezes, it's knocked our plants back, and we're trying to keep them with some blooms on there so they have some nectar to eat. We have a butterfly garden. We have a monarch way station, Monarch Hill, and so We brought a lot of our plants in, because they were in containers, and we didn't have the heat. We're hoping that the plumerias make it this year, because we've got cedars in there. And look, see, it is still a beautiful plant. I know, messing up all this stuff just messes up your allergies, doesn't it? I took my Zyrtec before we started, so we're okay.